on the street.
I've never had it, but there's no harm in trying something new.
There's a lot of harm in
Right. Okay. Welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and call our council meeting to order. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Fuller,
Here.
Councilor
Here.
Councilor Waters,
Here.
Councilor Anderson,
Here.
Councilor Russell,
Here.
Councilor Yonata,
Here.
Councilor Beach. Here. There you have a point.
So next we have our audience of citizens. If anyone wishes to speak to the council on anything on our agenda tonight or anything else that's bothering you about the town or what we could perhaps do about it, now would be your time, either here or on Zoom. Second here, see if anyone's clamoring to talk to us. Maybe that's a good thing if they're not. Went well today, right? So. All right, so I don't hear anyone, so going once, going twice, going three times. All right, we'll close our audience of citizens, move on to the mayor's update real quick. I just will, so we got our masks, our test kits today, and I know I'm sure they have that in your report, but the distribution went well, and we distributed most of what we had, and hopefully there's some more to come. But I'm happy to hear that the distribution went peaceably, and because what I've seen in the news and read, unfortunately, in some other towns in Connecticut, that sometimes it didn't. So glad we had a good morning, and we got the test kits out to hopefully people that need them. A couple other updates. We're still working on our community center, senior center. Right, they're doing some field trips, and I think you got a meeting, right, Brendan? Probably later this month, or on the 20th later in the month for the first meeting in January. Again, I please just caution what we put out there. We're again, as the council, we have to make sure what information we put out there is correct, but we do need to wait and keep an open mind on what the report from the the advisory committee that we appointed for the senior community center, what options they offer us. There's several options that we could look at as a town, and before we talk about funding, we need to have a plan. We don't have a plan yet. We have a part of a conceptual plan from our architect, but that may or may not be the final plan. So I guess, as I think I mentioned last time, we've already heard from our state representatives down at Beach, Kathy Abercrombie and Rick Lopes, that there is no state funding available, certainly at the moment. Basically, projects need to be shovel ready, which we're far away from that. But there may never be for something like a community center. So we, even they, all three of them, suggested perhaps other options, so we just need to keep our options open until we get to the point of making that decision. And certainly we'll get the information out to the public, the facts, what it will cost, how we might pay for it, what other options there might be. So that's that. The senior, we have our also our advisory council for the Affordable Housing Committee is out there. We need a plan that has to go to the state. We also have to be cautious about what information gets out because, you know, I don't want to pick on you, Jack, but in your article, you talked about the, you know, we're putting out a questionnaire. Well, that's not out yet, and I guess it just from some people that have been calling in.
That was, however, accurate at the time.
No, I don't believe it was because we don't even have it out yet. You're talking about email and call us. Wait
In
till we get
the public hearing
yes,
that we had last month,
yes.
the date for return was January 15th.
That date's going to be changed, so we don't have the final information on that survey. So I really got to ask you, please, you know, we just went through this with the governor who said we had test kits and we didn't have them. Let's not put information out there that's not completed yet. The committee hasn't met to finalize. So I just got to ask you, please just wait until we let the committee, much like we're waiting for the Senior Community Center Committee, let the Affordable Housing Committee do their job.
And I am letting them do their job.
But you're
However,
putting on information that's not correct to the public.
it was in fact correct to the public based on what the public hearing said back in December.
Okay.
But Mayor Mark, if I might say something.
Yes.
The whole purpose of the Affordable Housing Committee and the hearing that we had last month was to encourage transparency and participation in the process.
Correct.
Not,
Correct. Yes.
which is what in fact the whole purpose of the article was in the first place. There was nothing that I said in those articles that was factually inaccurate. The whole purpose of the article was to encourage transparency between our government and our citizens.
Which we have, which we've always
Well,
had,
that's good.
correct?
And I would like to continue fostering.
We
that
seem
section.
surprised that we have, we also seem surprised that we have a great affordable housing program already. Why would we be surprised about that?
I'm not surprised by that at all.
Good, because I'm just, you know.
It's, again, stating a fact that we are leaders in the state in providing
Yes.
affordable housing.
Right.
That's a positive thing. We should continue to affirm that for our citizens, should we not?
Correct. Good. It just seemed you were surprised by it, which I wasn't sure what that meant.
That's not what I'm hearing from the people that emailed me, so I appreciate your concern.
What's that?
It doesn't
What was
seem
that?
to be the case.
Hearing from the people about what?
From the people that have emailed me about it, there was never this perception about information that was not properly presented. So,
That's not what I've heard from some people. They were calling looking for the survey, which is not ready yet.
well, then it will be ready and we'll send out an amended date.
Yes, but we don't have to amend something. Let's wait until the advisory committee does their job. Please let them finish.
The date was
They are the
originally
advisory committee. That's what we appointed them for. They're doing the work. And they're gonna advise us and the public when, on the various steps of the matter. So let's let them do their job.
I feel that transparency is very important, and that was the whole purpose of the article, so.
And it is important, and it's also important to get the correct information. It's great to be transparent, but when you're transparent with the wrong information, that's not helpful. And we'll just move on from that. Obviously, we can agree to disagree, but we have to get the correct information out to the public. You can be transparent all day long, but if it's wrong, it's not very helpful. And we just have to go back and correct it, which just makes double the work for our town and our town staff and for the council. So just let's be cautious with that. That's all I'm asking.
And I feel that I am cautious going off the information that our town council.
Well, twice now, we're putting out, let's look for funding sources for the community senior center. We're not anywhere near that point. We don't even know.
We may still be in the planning process, Mayor Mark.
Yes.
However, there was no discussion in the meeting by the advisory committee that funding sources were not available.
There wasn't?
We are still in the process of exploring funding options for the community center, are we not?
Did you hear the
And
representative?
did I ever represent in my article or in my post on social media, which I'm assuming you're referring to, that funding sources were in fact available? I made it very clear in both that we are still in the process of exploring funding, which in fact we are.
but you did hear our three representatives, what they professed, because pretty much the funding that has been represented by different people, it goes back even to the campaign about the state's gonna fund all this, is just completely incorrect. And that seems to be what is getting misled to the public out there about where the funding's coming from. We had our three representatives, bipartisan representatives, Democrat, Republican. Don't count on any money from the state. I don't know where else this magical funding is gonna come from. I think we know where it's coming from. It's coming from the taxpayers of Berlin. That's where the funding's gonna come from. Let's face it, but just let the process, we're not at that, we're nowhere near asking, even looking for funding without an actual viable project. We don't have that. We have a conceptual plan by an architect, which may or may not be the final project, might be the size, might be smaller, might be bigger, could even be at a different location. So,
But be that as it may, I don't feel that letting the process take its course
yeah,
is an excuse for keeping our people in the dark about how it.
we're not keeping them in the dark. That's, you're completely missing the point, but we can debate it another day, Counselor. I don't understand what point you're missing about information has to go out that's correct to keep them in the know, not incorrect. That doesn't help anybody. And we can't just throw out something, let's look for funding. Funding for what? We have nothing. We don't have a plan for a community center. It hasn't been decided upon where, we have a potential location and some concept of a center. That's all we have. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. There is not the time, this is not the time for looking for funding. We need to get the plan straight first. So one step at a time. I know you're in a hurry, you're young, you got a lot of energy, that's great, but we gotta let the process play out.
I understand the need for letting the process play out. It's also important to explore the funding opportunities that may or may not be available and to leave no stone unturned, which is what I believe my impression was of the community center meetings that have happened thus far, which I've been attending.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we disagree on
I
something.
appreciate your concern.
All right, so other than that, we'll move on to our meeting agenda, our consent agenda. We have many items here. 6 items. We have transfer 26,000 to the lighting control upgrades at the school department general fund budget to pay for debt service payments related to the VHS lighting upgrade project. Accept monetary donations totaling number 2 to 2,535 for the Berlin Peck Memorial Library, deposit 1,500 into the library agency account used for professional staff development. Accept the number 3, accept donation $600 appropriate the funds to the police canine program expenditure account. Number 4, accept the donation of $200 and appropriate the funds to the supplies expenditure account. 5, appropriate $539 to the sale of land, labor, and materials revenue account, and the contractual services and projects account, and the capital non-recurring fund. Appropriate $6,029 to the sale of land, labor, materials revenue account, to the capital non-recurring fund account for facilities. So the last 2 are facilities. All right, any questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none, go ahead and take a motion.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the 6 items on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Second, sorry. Comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. On to number 1.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, good evening and happy New Year, everyone. Nice to be here. The first item on the agenda is an approval of Eagle Scout project by Ryan Bird for the donation drive. On April 2nd, 2022, at the Berlin Animal Control Shelter, as well as hold a week-long donation in town. Jen Ochoa, here's Ryan. Yeah, so if I may ask Ryan to come and give us a quick description, I think it's a pretty cool project.
That'd be great.
That'd be wonderful. I'd say a few words. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I'm Ryan Bird, I'm from Troop 44. So my project is a donation drive. A lot of times, especially during the pandemic, I've noticed like when you go to an animal shelter, a lot of the funding especially can be hard to get because, we're going through a pandemic. We sometimes think about the people and then we think about our poor animals who also might need help, And we're trying to raise awareness through that. We're also trying to raise awareness to another key thing that a lot of people can forget is that certain donations, the animal you may not think of, like who thinks of cleaning? It's really rare to think of cleaning supplies with an animal shelter. We're trying to collect some things. We're going to try to collect some of those key essentials as well. You have the typical food, toys, and such, but we also want to make sure to raise awareness for stuff that people don't think of, like having some cleaning supplies, having some bedding, stuff that you wouldn't really think animals need, but they desperately need it, And I'm just passionate about it because I have animals at home, and I hate to see animals suffer in general, and I love animals, so. And sorry about this. And then in general, we're just trying to make sure. Let's see. And then outcomes of the project that we're doing with the Berlin Animal Control as well. And you've heard about the donation day, donation week. Donation day, this will be this one big thing. We'll have sort of the fun of the animal shelter where I'm imagining it where I'll have like 20, maybe 10 scouts will come, and other volunteers will be welcome as well. We'll sit in front there. We'll have cars maybe come in. They'll drop off the toys or other supplies. We'll bring them in, and then we'll help the animal shelter organize. And the donation week, we'll have those at local places, churches, businesses, just local all around areas that we can ask for. We'll just leave them out there for a week, and we're trying to basically just have people donate throughout the week. Donation day will be this big sort of event where we're there, and this is trying to be posted through email or other resources, just so everyone knows. We'll be there to make sure everything happens. Well, and then let me check if anything else. I will be the one organizing this all, of course. And I'll make sure the scouts kind of behave as well. Very important as well. And any questions or comments, concerns?
No, Ryan, thank you. That's, as always, our Eagle Scouts bring great projects to help the town out. This is another one of those projects, so we certainly appreciate your being creative with this one, and it's a different one. We haven't seen one to help our animal shelter like this, so that's wonderful. Yeah. So we appreciate it. We, wish you all the luck, and we'll support you. For the whole town will, so. Thanks. Questions, Brian? Any other questions? Go.
It's wonderful, great idea.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Ryan.
Oh, one check. No, I got everything.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and take a motion on this.
Sure. I move to approve Ryan Bird's Eagle Scout project for a donation week as well as the donation drive benefits all animals.
Second, yeah, 44 of the long history. American Body Equal Project. Great. Just want to say thank you. Great. Any other comments or questions? None, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you. Right. Look forward to it. So,
Second item on the agenda is you recall the ordinance committee made a recommendation to the council with the flag policy. At the meeting, Councilor Rasso, you had is it something there? The mic? Okay, don't move. Can you turn that off? No. Creating some static. Okay. All right, going back to the policy, since Council Russell, you noted the fire truck had a different flag and been asked if it was to support the police. And there was interest from the council to show support for our first responders, including police, fire, and emergency medical technicians. And what this policy is doing, if you look at the second page, I've indicated that in bold, it keeps the first two what we recommended, but we're adding the third component where it could show support for the first responders, but any such flag should come to the town council for their prior approval before it is flown on any town property. So I hope that accommodates what you were looking for. Happy to take any questions or any suggestions we have.
I think so, based upon, right? You had mentioned that. So we wanted to take care of that. Certainly, we're keeping it limited to government speech.
The only question I have is, future councils could amend this. This says we have this exception here, or this non-governmental flag. So future, because we have a precedent there, couldn't future councils put other flags in that category?
It's a policy, it's not even an ordinance, so sure, it's subject to future councils rescinding it, modifying it, replacing it, doing whatever they want.
What should be the recommended process for them?
Well-
Sending it down to the ordinance committee or doing it as a council?
Well, it's not an ordinance, it's a policy. So if you wanted to consider, most towns don't have a flag flying policy, let alone an ordinance. So if in the future, if a future council wanted to consider modifying it, they could just put it on the agenda and have a discussion and vote on it.
Make a motion for including that, because I think it's important that that be out there so that the fire departments can continue to fly the flag on the back of that. I appreciate that.
So
Yeah, it's a good addition, and as we said too, remember, this is the policy just for town property. We have and will continue, as councils have for that forever, I think. We'll recognize different movements, different groups, different memorial, whatever we want to recognize. We as a council do a proclamation, and this council, the last few years we've done many. And we'll continue to do that. That's how we try and show the recognition of different events, different special occasions through our proclamations.
if I may add a comment, so just to be clear, it's a comment and a question actually, Jeff. So the way it is written right now, anyone can fly the flag of the United States, the state flag. We don't have a town of Berlin flag. So if you do, we can fly that. And then all of the other, town of Berlin used as Veterans Memorial, the following flags may be flown the period of MIA, official service flags of the Armed Forces of the United States, official flag on the military unit recognition, all those things that's outlined 1, 2, and 3. So anything other than that, including the one that's already flying, the backup, the fire truck will have to come to the council for prior approval, because that's not an official flag.
That's correct.
Reach out to the
Yeah,
fire departments.
It can be done, I just want to make sure that people on this, what we will approve move forward. I'll be happy to reach out to the fire.
Good? No, good? All right, go ahead and,
I just wanted to add real quick too, if I could, I was pretty happy to see that we added back in the prior to town council approval. I know there was some opposition to that before, so it's good that we get a chance to approve things that are coming in.
oh, good, okay, good, thanks, Mike. All right.
Okay, I move to adopt the proposed flying policy, set the effective date thereof of April 4th, 2022. Okay,
Second on that, second. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved, thank you.
Thank you. The third item on the agenda is to increase the town's contribution to the police officer defined contribution plan. It's attached memorandum when we came from the police commission on Wednesday. And we had talked about it in an ad hoc committee about bringing everyone to 6 cents an hour. And so it's high prior to July 1st, 2017, continue to have 6 cents well, the ones high after was changed to a different number, 1.8. And this brings everyone back to 6 cents well. When I put this on the agenda, it was not reviewed by Labor Council. Labor Council got back to me today.
Okay.
This afternoon, and it's fine with it.
Oh, okay.
So you can decide what you want to do. This was put in as a discussion item, but you want to take an action.
Right, because we didn't have that, review.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I asked you for that. Oh.
So,
I don't know if like Mike, everybody, can they hear us out there?
we can hear us second.
Right.
Not this one.
I can hear you guys, but it doesn't, I think it sounds like it's coming from the microphone on a computer. It's hard to hear, but I can hear it somewhat.
Can you hear us, Mike?
Yeah.
Can you speak? Yeah, they can see us.
Speak.
You can increase the volume in that.
Yeah, I can hear you. It just sounds like it's coming from like something's picking up the overhead speakers, I guess you could say.
We lost Mike. He's talking and we can't
increase the volume on this TV page. We have it removed there. Here it is. Try this. Sorry about it. How about now? Say something, please. Sing for me.
I'm not singing, are you kidding me? You haven't that.
Whoa, all right.
Is that fine with everyone? Let's go with this.
Yeah, as long as it's working, yeah.
It's working, they can see us.
People can hear, yeah. Zoom audience, seems to be.
Sorry about the interruption.
So this, right, this came out of, we're having discussions between the town and the union about, changing their defined contribution, defined benefit plan. This is just to bring everybody up to the same place that, before we go forward, perhaps something different. We're still having those discussions, so it's important now to do that. I think get all the employees, all the officers on the same page as far as their defined contribution plan that they have now, rather than two different types or two different amounts. So that's what this came about. So we're still talking about some changes perhaps, and all this came about for considering problems with possible retention of officers going back a few years. And now, not only retention, but we are finding some issues now with obviously hiring new employees, new officers. And I think everybody knows today that there's a much more limited pool of people applying to any police department anywhere across the country. And we're all competing for the same candidates. Typically in the past, you might have a pool of, bigger police departments of 500 to 1,000 applicants. And of course, state police, you whittle that down, but now the pool is much, much smaller, maybe 100, maybe if we're lucky, a couple hundred. And then we've got to go through, of course, by the time we get to the end, maybe you find 10 that are suitable for hire or that you are interested in. So we're all competing for that same pool. All the surrounding towns, many have switched back to defined benefit plans. Most departments in the state have defined benefit plans. We, a while ago, went to a defined contribution plan, the 401k basically. And, with that came some grandfathering in of some of the officers that were in the old defined benefit plan. There's still some that, of course, collect an annuity, but there also was the piece that paid out the lump sum that went to many of the officers, and they were very fortunate to be in that plan at that time frame. Good for them. We wish them well, and the ones that are still left, they're getting a great retirement. But the problem that happened with the defined benefit plan was it wasn't funded for years. Things weren't funded, and especially in light of the lump sum payments, had it just remained a plan where you collected annuity after so many years, and then of course the new one switched to 401k, we wouldn't have been as in the tough shape we have been in the last few years. We have, through obviously many of the officers and some town employees have retired. We paid their benefit out to them, and there's still a few left, and we've been able to fund it and not bankrupt the town. But when you go 10 years and don't put anything into a pension fund, and then you got to be looking at very large lump sum payments, not a good plan. So I think that's always the concern why we went to the 401k for the whole town, all the town employees, including the police department, because a lot of towns are in trouble. The state of Connecticut's, I don't know, 25 billion in the hole funding their plan, as are other states, and we didn't want to face that again. But again, retention, recruitment, a problem. So we're still talking about it, and just trying to figure out what the right way is to do. And we've had, multiple meetings with the union and the town officials, police commission. So we're getting there. I think we're getting close. And I don't want to put out there until we start still having some discussions. But this is just kind of the first step, just to bring everybody up to the same level in the plan we have now, and then we'll take it from there as we move down the road here fairly quickly.
So,
Questions? You guys have questions? Just gonna get everybody in the same 6 and.
Yeah, I was just wondering, and I don't know if anyone has any specific examples or anecdotes on what I've been hearing from certain people is it's especially common amongst newer recruits, younger people who get their experience in the police department and then move on after 3 or 5 years. But I guess I was just wondering more specifically in the last maybe year or so, if someone, I don't know, we have a couple of police officers, I don't mean to put you on the spot, we have Chief McNally, who's in on the call as well, but maybe someone could speak to specific retention issues that have been happening as of late.
We can do that probably on another day. I mean, this is just to bring, you know, we can get a quick answer to that, and we'll probably have some more discussion when whatever plan we decide to change. I think we're looking at a couple plans back to the defined benefit plan and or back to or to a better 401k, you know, better matches, again, for retention and recruitment. But until we probably figure out which direction that's going to be, and then we'll come to the council, and we'll definitely want to get, you know, everybody's approval and listen, and we can present some more information to you when we get there. This is just kind of a really an offer, I guess, of good faith, we call it, to the PD, that we're certainly taking a serious look at it, and again, bring everybody up to the same on par as far as the 6 to 12 match that most officers have. I think this only affects if 14 officers maybe are affected by this.
12?
12, okay. So they have a lower match, right? 4 to 8. So we're just trying to get them on the same page, and then as we go forward, we can have some discussions on what we think we should do, and you know, and what the reasons are. You know, I just gave you like a thumbnail sketch in general, but we're still working on it, and we'll get there soon. We need to make a decision, you know, and try and do the right thing for the town, the officers, the taxpayers. So we'll get there. So if we can hold up on that, we'll have a better discussion down the road.
Sounds good.
Quick, pretty soon too, you know, in the next month or so. Get some more information, more specific information out there. So what else? Anything else? I don't know where we've been, and just let's get everybody on the same page, and then we can hopefully move forward. So what do we need? Just so now, well, discussion only, but now we can approve this, correct? So Jeff, so yeah, we're all set now, right? Because Labor Council is okay with it. Obviously, the union is police commission, came from the police commission. They made their motion the other day. So if you want to take a moment just to read it, it was only going to be for discussion tonight, but since we were able to get the approval, which is wonderful, we were going to do it at our next meeting, but I didn't put it on that way, but we can certainly. I would suggest we take care of it now while it's here, and then we can move on with our other discussion. So as we said, it affects 12 officers, and we'll bring everybody up to the same plan. Questions on this, please? Yeah, we can entertain that if anybody has questions. Yeah, I know
Are you amending the agenda to make this an action item?
we'll do that. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend the agenda tonight to make the increasing the town's contribution plan for the agenda.
Second on that. Thank you. Any questions on that? Roger, with that, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? So moved. So now it's an action item.
I'm so ready, I would make the motion, just,
So good.
yeah, so then we're on the understanding. Not by between the town of Berlin and the police. That read that top.
The summary.
Yeah, so just how it reads right on the top. Yeah.
Okay.
It covers everything.
We'll make a motion tonight to accept the memorandum of understanding by and between the town of Berlin, Connecticut, and the Berlin Police Union, General Order of Police Lodge 56. Defined benefit contribution fund.
I think second on that. Corrected motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? So moved. Thanks. Think we're all good? Hello? Question? Okay. All good. All right, so we have that. So now we can go ahead and make this an action item, right? So now just go ahead. Motion to approve that. Okay.
I thought I just did that.
No, you just did.
Oh, we did that? I thought we made the motion to change
Yeah,
it.
yeah, we're all set. He did the motion.
You did both.
to-
Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
All right,
He
so
made
we're
the
good.
motion to amend the agenda and then
Ah.
we're good.
All right, now, before we get off the police department discussion, there was another, I don't know what you call it, resolution that you might have sent to us from the.
Medical insurance for workers' comp.
Yeah, could you come up, Commissioner Wilson, and maybe just give us a, because that's not in our packet, but while we're talking about this, I just wanted to get it out.
Okay.
Or the union, whoever.
Can you bring Sergeant Martin with you?
Yes, yes, please. Yeah, just so we are aware of this other issue that I just think we should move forward and work out, but just explain it first.
The simple part is when we have an officer that goes out on workers' comp, they're obviously off our payroll, and it makes a complication with their health insurance. So it's just an odd scenario, but it really places a burden on the families. Sergeant Martin, you want to explain exactly what they have to do?
So as it is now, because we're insured, the
And the
town,
mic, please. Thank you.
as loud as I am, because we're insured now through Kerma, the town is insured through Kerma, that's where workers' comp payments come from, but there are no withholdings. So an officer who's injured in the line of duty gets a check weekly from Kerma, theoretically weekly, however, there's sometimes considerable delay, can be 2 or 3 weeks before they receive their first check. They're delayed, sometimes there's a gap, depending on how doctor's appointments go and how notifications go. Then that officer has to come down every week and write a personal check to the town for their portion of deductions, their health insurance, their contribution to a 401k, whatever normal deductions would come out of their paycheck. Kerma doesn't take those out. Basically, our proposal was for the town to pay officers on workers' comp out of payroll, and they keep the money that comes in from the insurance company. We're not asking for additional funds, although as part of the MOU, it was to make the officers whole, so you get your full paycheck every week. But the thought process was the town cuts you your paycheck every week like they would anyway, and the town receives the insurance money from Kerma instead of the officer doing it. That way the town could have their, could take out the deductions and those kind of things. So that's an ongoing discussion that we're having. Does that clarify?
I have a quick question, sorry. So would that be at the current 70 or 65 or whatever percentage that the permit checks come in at now? Or would that be at 100% of the police patrol officers' salary?
Well, the way we crafted our initial memorandum of understanding, our proposal was that it would be the greater of, because some Kermit takes into consideration the average salary an officer makes throughout the course of a year. So they calculate as part of workers' comp, the overtime that an officer works, and then they pay at the 66% rate tax-free, which can then sometimes work out to more or less of regular pay. And our position is that it should be the greater part, either regular full pay. So if you get injured in the line of duty, if you're shot or run over by a car or something performing your duties, you either get your regular paycheck, or if Kerma is paying the town additional money beyond what you would have normally got, you would get that amount. We're not asking for the town to, to absorb additional expenses. We're just saying an officer should get his pay while he's out injured, unless Kerma pays more, Because there are some officers that are gonna have a higher calculation because they work a great deal of overtime. And there are officers that are gonna have a lower calculation, they work less overtime. But everyone should get at least base pay. And then, you know, if the town is getting more, the town shouldn't profit from an officer being hurt who worked a lot of overtime over the course of a year. The officer should get that money that's being paid for by the insurance anyway. That's our concept and our proposal as a union to kind of fix this. And then that should be paid by the town in a regular payroll check so that the town can withhold its deductions, withhold the 401k contributions, all of the other things, and the officer continue to get a check. You know, if an officer has a minor injury, he's out for 3 weeks, it's not, not necessarily a huge deal. But we have an officer who gets shot in the line of duty, and he's in a hospital bed with a wife and 2 small children. His wife is gonna have to be responsible for all of these things, taking care of kids, taking care of a spouse, and then coming here every week with a check so that they continue to have health insurance.
If she even knows to do it. If she even knows that she has
Yes,
to
he
do
knows
it.
how to do it. So that's our concern moving forward, and this happens so infrequently. I mean, in a town like Berlin, it's a wonderful town, we don't get hurt that often. So it only, right, it only raises its ugly head every couple of years when we have these things happen. And then, but when it does, we have an officer out injured now, it comes to the forefront.
Just question, this was negotiated in your previous contract, right?
It was proposed in our previous
So-
contract, and the town took it off the table, town's just saying no.
So are you opening up the contract negotiations now?
Well, it would be an MOU if we, but
Well, I don't know, if you want to do an MOU for this, we probably need to talk about it.
Well, and I think we do. I think the purpose, I agree, Roche, is just to explain it to the counselors. And personally, I think it's an issue we should revisit. I don't know when's the next contract, 2 years from now?
Yeah.
That's too long to wait, I think. But I'm curious, came from another department. How did the department you came from handle this?
the department I came from, you got your paycheck every week. And it was actually, they paid you 100% pay, did not tax you on the first 2/3 under workers' comp rules. So you actually got base pay plus portion of it was tax-free. So it worked out to almost like you worked a 4-hour overtime job a week, and it was seamless. It was a paycheck. You never, you just got direct deposited like your paycheck would every week.
Hey, Kevin, do you want to say something? Yeah, I see.
Sure. First, my first reaction when I read this is I think it's an unmanageable proposal. There's a couple of reasons. One, when someone's injured, there's sometimes a lag when we would even know. If we're not aware the person is going to continue receiving payroll. Recently, within the last couple of weeks, there was someone injured, and I can tell you that our payroll person actually contacted KERMA to find out if the person's workers' comp would be settled and the check would be mailed. And the answer was yes, because if the check was not going to be mailed by early in the week, then we were going to continue payroll and then figure out how to correct that after the fact. So there is an intent every time that we're aware of it to make sure that an officer is at least receiving, or an officer or non-officer, because there's workers' comp for everyone else as well, is at least receiving their pay or their workers' comp check. Nobody is looking to have anybody out in the cold. The second part is, the reason it's more unmanageable is we don't know what that ultimate percentage will be and the settlement will be. As Rob mentioned, there's not withholdings on that. So we would be in a situation if the town continued to pay where we would have to go back and figure out tax corrections. If that were to happen, for example, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, you would be dealing with a W-2 nightmare. You would be dealing with the town's state and federal legal tax requirements being adjusted and managed in a very difficult way across calendar years. What we do for other unions is workers' comp pays the amount that they pay, whatever is calculated. And the differential to get someone back to be whole for what his or her normal compensation would be placed into payroll. And then from that, health insurance deductions and any other deductions would be taken. It's only in the event where the workers' comp percentage is high enough that the remaining balance, the supplemental portion to get to full pay, that the person would then have to come in with a check. We have people who haven't had to provide a single check. We've had others where they've had to provide a small percentage. And I can also tell you that we're not quick to pull the trigger and kick somebody off of health insurance. It is not something that the town is aggressively going after. Certainly, if somebody is out for months and doesn't pay anything, then we're going to have an issue. But there is an outreach both from payroll and from HR to try to work with folks. But the proposal that's on the table would be administratively onerous to several parts of the town, would put the town potentially in exposure of incorrect tax reporting, would put the individual potentially at risk of not having proper withholdings. Workers' comp typically does not take that long. And to the extent workers' comp continues, we have continued to pay folks. I can give you an example. At the beginning of COVID, there was a question, would someone who was out on COVID be covered by workers' comp if the person was injured on the job? It wasn't a Berlin question, it was a general question. Because we didn't know, we continued to pay some of our VNA associates who had been exposed on the job their regular pay and said, we will fix this when it's done. So there is a method in place. Again, nobody is trying to shortchange anyone, but to pay upfront and then try to adjust it afterwards would be, I think, tremendously onerous across the town and risky from various legal obligations of the town.
So Kevin, you did say though, and maybe I missed it, the police department, oh, then there's the town, we do the town this way. Different than the police department? Is it different or is it exactly the same? It sounded like it was different.
It's different. For some reason, I don't know why, but the police, this was never, I've been through the last two negotiations. I don't even recall this topic coming up the last two negotiations we've had with the police. Now, it may have, and I've just forgotten, but I don't recall this being a discussion. The DB was, but I don't recall this being a discussion. And I don't know of anybody who was opposed to putting the police in the same program, again, with the supplemental pay like we have for our blue collar and white collar workers and nurses and others.
Okay. So could we do that? I mean, it sounds like if that's something that we somehow missed the police department with, it sounds like they're more, the individual officer, let's say, which is rare, thank God it's rare. But when it does happen, it's more onerous on them than it is on the town employees. That makes no sense to me at all. Wouldn't we then easily be able to do an MOU to fix that, which seems to be not handled correctly for, I guess, years ago or whatever, the last time this came up in their negotiations, if ever, but why wouldn't we just put them on the same plan? Sorry, I can't turn around. Put them on the same plan that the town is on, right? That would end. It sounds like that would take care of the issue we're talking about.
I don't know that we're opposed to that as
Yeah.
a union, we obviously would have to look at.
Yes, no, I
See what
agree.
you're arguing,
So that's why I just
We're
wanted
just trying to fix a
Yes,
glitch,
agreed.
we're not trying to create problems.
That's why I brought it up tonight, just so we could discuss it and let's, going forward, could we talk about that? So I understand what you said, Kevin. Sounds like the other way would be a nightmare, but if the town operates differently for every other union or employee and then the police department, that makes no sense to me. And it seems like we should be able to very easily put them incorporate them into the town system. Like you guys talk about it first, obviously, but and talk to Kevin, get the details, or Denise, whoever you're gonna talk to, or Roche. But that would make sense to me. I don't, what do you guys think hearing this? They should be treated like everyone else. So I think that's a fair system.
It sounds wrong.
And get back to us with more details too. If we all have questions, I'm not gonna settle this tonight, obviously.
Yeah, I didn't expect that this was even gonna be, a discussion item.
Well, I think
it's good that it is, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's important, it's important to bring it up. So it's maybe not on the agenda, that's great, okay, I get that, we'll fix that too, but whatever. To me, this is very important. I mean, we have someone that is injured on the job, I don't care if they're police officer, public works, I don't care. It should all be handled the same way. I mean, it was just brought to my attention recently, so I think it has to be. we can call this, we'll go back to the mayor update if we need to go there. I'll update it, I'll update everybody on that mayor update, but. So, yeah, so hearing that, Kevin, thank you for explaining that. That makes sense. And, you know, you guys are different. Nobody even knows why, which is to me even more mysterious and more troublesome, but, you know, talk to your union members and we can, you know, talk some more to Roche and Kevin, and I don't see why we couldn't do an MOU to fix that problem now, not wait 2 years to do it.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't, Roche, Kevin, get together, at least see what the town does on the other side.
But
So, again, I hate to do this in a public meeting, but normally you guys have a very good relationship with Kevin and Denise and all of them. You reach out to us and we work things out, and I was a little bit surprised that this comes from the commission, because the commission does not have the authority to go and amend anything in the union contract.
Well, we want to put it on the table and get it in front of the school.
yeah, I think.
Because it's the way it's handled now is wrong.
Yeah, but,
I mean, I think a Roche, it's well intentioned to just get it out there, and I hear what you're saying too, I understand, but you know, if it's come to light, we're, you know, talking about the other thing as well, which was on the agenda, I understand that, but whatever, it's come to light and we, you know, we need to just look at it. I mean, again, even more so, actually more so now that we don't handle the police the same as the rest of the town. I didn't even hear that until right now with Kevin explaining that. So that's, to me, more troublesome, that's even worse. You know, I mean, if that's how we handle the town, we're gonna change the PD and different from the town, I get that, that would be a burden, but to put them into the same system that the town uses, which seems to be better for the employee, more equitable and you know, financially makes them more stable in their time of injury. I see absolutely no reason why we wouldn't do it, if that's what the PD wishes. I mean, if the union wants it, great, we can talk about it and figure it out, but you know, to add them into the town plan makes perfect sense to me. But what do you all think? Maybe I'm totally wrong, I don't know.
It's a good idea.
I mean, does that make sense to you guys to explore it and put them into the same? What do you think, Jeff? Give me your.
Got to look at the CBA, I mean.
Yeah.
In terms of, I mean, from a conceptual standpoint, sure, it makes sense.
Yeah, right.
You know, the mechanism to do it, you know, whether it's a reopener of the CBA versus an MOU, is something to look at.
Okay, well, I mean, understandably, we have to get the mechanism, I
I
understand
don't
that.
know, I don't know how it ended up in there, I wasn't at the tables.
Right, none of us seem to know, and I'm surprised it would be treated any differently. It seems
I guess,
Yeah,
Mark,
yeah.
just to quickly say, I think that, you know, I would love to find out what the precedent is in other towns about how this is handled as well.
Sure.
And again, like, I think going back to what Jeff just said, the mechanisms of handling something like this would be, I'd like to explore that too, to be like, you know, whether or not does this belong in a negotiation between the union and the police department here in Berlin, or you know, how are we supposed to really, I get what you're saying, and I know that it does seem troublesome. I just would like to know how other towns handle this type of stuff, and other questions that would go into that as well.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, other towns are other towns, you know, everybody does it differently, but if, I guess, again, shocking to me that the whole town is handled one way for workers' comp and the police department's handled differently, which seems to be worse from what I can understand tonight. I mean, we can look at the details. That makes that, I don't know why we would do that. I mean, they should be handled the same. Certainly if it's a better way of handling it, which it sounds like, as Kevin explained, it is. You know, why wouldn't we go with that? I don't care what the other towns do, honestly. I'm curious what they do, and I agree, we can look into it, no doubt. Maybe there's a better way for the PD. I don't know, you know, trying to support them the best we can. And, you know, they get injured very seriously, as do, you know, public works, you know, anybody can get injured seriously working for the town. So
Mark, I think something we need to start with is this something that's in every individual union negotiation, or is there just a town policy for everybody but the police department?
yeah, agreed. Yeah, because it seems like nobody knows. Right.
I know. So these are individually negotiated by each
Contract.
contract. You probably got something else instead of this. I'm just saying that I'm really surprised that this has been there in the contract for this many years. And I know why it's popping up now, but that's not the process to go through it. Like, I don't know why, I was not there when he negotiated this stuff
I gotta
before.
address that.
But normally, when these things happen, it's on the table and we take certain things off to get something else. So
No, I understand that process too.
and we are opening up the contract here now.
Rose.
Council meeting.
You weren't here.
I was not here, that's what I'm
Right.
saying, I was not
With
here.
Healy and prior to that, Denise McNair. This was brought up several times and it went to deaf ears, okay? Because I personally was affected by it. I actually filed 2 grievances on it and then they got pulled back because the language is clear. It's exactly the way it's being handled, but it's not, it's clear, but it's still wrong the way it's handled because I can tell you from personal experience, I went 3 weeks and I'll get paid. One time, this is years ago. This is not so. When the commission came to me and said, hey, we want to do this, I said, well, there's a vehicle that I can use that maybe, you know, in the past when it's falling on deaf ears, it made some progress. So that's why it happened. It's no disrespect.
And the language in the MOU was pulled right from our prior proposal.
We brought it up at the last contract negotiation. It got taken off the table near the end because that's the way things happen sometimes. So that's just a little history. That language was negotiated 15 years ago before I even showed up here. Okay, you know, and it has, I think it had a lot to do with the chief at the time, which was Fitzgerald, who did not like people being on workers' comp, and that mechanism was put into place. It actually makes it harder for the officer to be out than to want to go back to work because it's so tedious to deal with it, you know. And I talked to the mayor today, and there's no disrespect to anybody involved in the process here. But I mean, I could give you a personal example. You go to the medical, you go to a doctor for your checkup, you get a note saying, now Kermit has it right in their calendar. John Flynn's going for a 3-week checkup to see when it's progressing with his injury. At that point, if I get the note from the doctor, say 3 more weeks out, I bring it to the fire marshal there, give it to him. Now, if he's not in his office or he's away or he's out, you know, he's not, it's a Friday, that notification does not get made to Kerma timely that Wednesday when the check's cut, and it's sent by snail mail, by the way. They don't even have direct deposit. That the employee won't get their pay on Friday or Saturday. It's affected by snowstorms. It's affected by a whole bunch of different other things. I mean, so it's not a feasible way to pay somebody, especially when they're not injured and they make more money more than anything. So it's just there's a lot of problems involved with it. Just, you know what I mean? There is.
But that's why I did it. So the other night, Commissioner Wilson, that's the police commission sent something, a resolution forward with that to the council?
Right.
Okay, so I'm just curious why that didn't get to us.
I told you why.
We gotta look into it.
Yeah.
But I mean, we gotta, like, I guess I'm a little frustrated. This stuff, like, we need to know this as a council. And I know you need to look into it and I respect that, but if another commission sends something to us, I think we need to get it right away and we can, like we did here, we just are aware of it because, you know, we get calls from constituents too and police officers and whoever, anybody calls us all the time. I think we just need to make sure at least we have an answer to say, and I mean, the answer is, yeah, we're gonna look into it, but I think we do need to, in the interest of, transparency, as I hear a lot about transparency, well, we need to be transparent with this too. And that's what we just need to know. No one's making any decisions tonight, but I mean, that bit of information to me is, so useful that the rest of the town is handled differently, which I never would have guessed that, but I understand each contract's different. I know different terms and different things, but workers' comp is pretty straightforward. And I guess I'm more sensitive to it because I'm on it myself now. It's my company handled it, a good way, but differently than this, but you just need to know. And I know you're looking into it and I know you will. And I have the utmost confidence you will, and we'll talk to Labor Council, we'll talk to Jeff, we'll talk to the whole world, but we need to be aware as it's going on. And that's what I get a little frustrated with sometimes. That's all. Not from you. You did tell me, you told me.
I told you that.
But I wanted the
agenda
council.
items, and I needed to discuss that with the Labor Council and others because the agenda was already sent out.
Yeah, and that's
So I
fine.
said we're gonna hold it, and you will find it.
Yeah, I'm not though, because I didn't realize, I don't know if they realized they had a resolution. I know they had one on the 4-6, but maybe I didn't understand that. I'll take the hit, but we need to know. I'm glad we heard it and I know you're looking into it and we'll figure something out. but, you know, that part there, I didn't hear, I mean, that was, we talked for a second and Kevin said, well, we handle them differently than the rest of the town. That's pretty important to know that, right? I mean, I know whatever contracts are negotiated, but
That's why you negotiate that.
it's an important thing now to support our police. They're, you know, it's tough enough for them now, and it handles, so this, you know, workers' comp, thank God for the police department, as you said, Sergeant Martin, happens, thank God, relatively frequently in Berlin, thank goodness. So, but now's the time to fix it. So, it's out here, it's transparent, we're talking about it, and I think that's what needed to happen. So,
Thank you all.
thank you all.
Thank you, and thanks for that 401k vote also, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Someone else said, I think Peter said he wants to, for his New Year resolution, he wants things to be transparent, so bingo, here we are. Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, Roche, I know you're probably upset with me, I'm sorry, but it was bothering me today because, you know, Sergeant Flynn called me and you know, supposedly talked to Denise. There was whole things I heard. I wasn't happy with what I was hearing. So I just thought I needed to get out there and we'll work on it and do the best we can to fix it. Thank you. Number 4.
Number 4, streetlight maintenance services contract. Mike?
Yes,
you are
good,
available. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're feeling better.
yeah, I am actually. Thank you. Good evening.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. I'm on the backside of this thing.
Are you a victim of COVID?
Yeah, I'm a victim. My wife's a victim. My kids are waiting for the test, so you know, it's coming through. So, but we're all good. No one's on a ventilator or anything else. So,
Drink plenty of fluids.
yeah, absolutely. Good advice. So this is straightforward, guys. This is a 3. We're looking for to have a 3-year contract to oversee our streetlight maintenance program. And you may recall you've given me a couple of bid waivers to keep us limping along. We threw a couple of companies out of town because they weren't doing it to our satisfaction. So we got 5 bids on December 9th. What we did was we tried to simplify it by having the unit rates that are typically charged for streetlight services. That's on the table. This should be included in your packet. Pasquarelli Electric was the lowest on more of the categories than anyone else. And thankfully, Pasquarelli Electric has been helping us out as well while we were doing this sort of short-term bid waiver approach. So I have no problem with recommending that we go ahead with a 3-year contract with them. And they've actually been doing a great job. They're old school, one person, you call him, he sends the crew out. We had other companies that they had a sophisticated call center, it never worked. They kept calling Lisa at the office and us. And this is simplifying things. Lisa is going to almost be the streetlight manager, I call her in the office. But it's actually working out because we have a good vendor and they actually came out looking competitive. So I just like the 3-year contract approved and we can get this thing sorted out.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Sure.
We talked about this before, right? Yeah. Some questions for Mike? No questions, we will go ahead and take a motion.
Okay, I move to authorize the town manager to enter into a 3-year contract agreement with Pasquarello Electric Corp of Madison, Connecticut to provide streetlight maintenance services through December 31st, 2024.
Take a second on that. Second. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Thank you. Agenda item number 5. Don't go anywhere. You got one couple more. The grant application for the Capital Regional Council of Governments, Mike, for the lots of road projects. Tell it over to you.
Yeah, this is another easy one. We have an opportunity to submit 2 different projects into the lot zip, into the CROG for the lot zip program. The deadline is January 19th. One project is for Burnham Street and Mysterio Drive, basically repaving. These are both basically repaving. We'll sweeten up some intersections and some pavement striping and some lane widths and all that as we do it, but pretty much these are both repaving projects. So the first one's Burnham Street and Mysterio Drive. These two roads were in a previous 5-road application we submitted. It initially got approved, and then when it went through the cost, the final design and cost estimation, the numbers kept going up, so we took them out. So these are actually part 2 of what we already have going in the works right now with Deming, Christian, and Porter's Pass. And then Episcopal Road and Rowley Street both need to be paved, particularly Rowley Street. So while I want to throw that in as a second project, we have a total max, each town has a max of $3.2 million. And our initial cost estimation shows that we probably are okay with both these. If the CROG gives us one, I'd be happy. If they give us approve both, I'd be ecstatic. So we're just looking for permission to submit these applications.
Okay, that sounds great. Any questions for Mike? If not,
Quick question.
yes.
On the project to repave Physical and Deming Road, is there any chance of it's too late to look at a traffic light at Physical Road? A lot of trouble getting out of Physical Road at times of day.
What intersection was that? I'm sorry.
Where Physical hits Deming across from
We actually looked at that. I think the, we can look at it again, but I think DOT doesn't like traffic signals too close to each other. So the fact that the turnpike signal is so close, we're putting in a left turn pocket lane on Deming heading north to Episcopal, and is going to be basically a turning lane put in. It's going to be formalized. So right now, the project we have in the books right now, and it's almost at 100% design, will help that without a signal though. There was another approach that someone had, we looked at a roundabout, but that involved taking some properties in that area and messing with aprons and driveway curb cuts. So the simplest solution that we came up with initially, our design team, is to put a left turn lane heading north of Episcopal, and then there'll be a through lane heading to the turnpike, which should help some of the queuing. So, and everyone wants, I think the police department wanted a traffic signal there as well because of the queuing issues. But from what I understand, the DOT is a little resistant to putting signals every time you have a need all along a stretch, because you'll have like 50 signals on one road, that type of thing. So we can take another look at it, but I think the way we're going right now is probably we'll see how that works. Anything can be changed in the future, but right now it's going to be a left turn pocket lane so that people can have the opportunity to go up Episcopal without blocking traffic to a certain extent.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Okay. Take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the town manager and staff to submit 2 applications to the Capital Regional Council of Governments for road project for reconstruction of 1 Burnham Street and Mysterio Drive, and 2 Episcopal Drive and Rowley Street.
Second on that? Second. Any other comments or questions for Mike? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, so moved.
Thank you, Mike. Feel better.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
See you, Mike. Thanks, Mike. Agenda item number 6 is request to waive the town employee purchasing requirement and purchase 5 automatic external defibrillators, AEDs from Stryker Medical for use within the fire department. And Mr. Simons, you're on.
Good evening. How is everybody?
Good.
Good. So in the fire department, we're looking to replace 5 of our AEDs with new AEDs. The new AEDs will be the same as the police department and acceptable to Hartford Healthcare or Hunter's Ambulance. So they'll be plug and play. Actually, the units that are being replaced are hand-me-down units that originally came from the Berlin Police Department. So we're just replacing those now and upgrading our equipment. 3 of these will be coming out of our budget. 2 are a donation from the Manzi Fund.
That's great. Good. Okay, any questions for Jim? None. Motion?
Okay, move to waive the town of Berlin bidding requirements and purchase 5 automatic external defibrillators from Stryker Medical of Chicago, Illinois, an amount not to exceed $11,586. This is in the best interest of the town.
Second on that? Second. Any other questions or comments? Motion on the floor, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Is that God or is that Jim? I wasn't sure for a minute.
They're one and the same.
Yes.
I call him the radio voice of Chip Sock.
Yeah, I guess so.
Agenda item number 7 is, I gave you a heads up at the last meeting that I was requesting a new superintendent of facilities position in July. But I'm bringing it to you now so that we can create a job description, which I have created with Denise and Doug's help, and post it and try to get it, get the position in sooner. There is I hope you had a chance to read the agenda item. It provides some history on how staffing in the facilities department has evolved over the years. Very briefly, 2014, 2016, there was a superintendent of facilities, and then there was a construction manager. Those positions were combined together to make it the director of facilities. And so, and there was no director at that time because prior to that, facilities reported to public works. So you ended up creating like 3 positions into one. And it has come to a point, I mentioned this last time, if you look at all the trades, custodial, capital projects, the director is the first point of attack for all of them. Public works, they have a superintendent and a foreman. Public grounds have a superintendent and foreman, so that you can manage these projects, and the foreman can actually manage the crew and the work and the assignments. And Doug's in the room, but I was very surprised when I started working here, and there's a stain in the carpet. Everybody calls Doug. When the roof's leaking, they call Doug. When there's a project that needs to manage, it's Doug. And it had come to a point that it's unmanageable. And just to give you a sense, there are 36 buildings that we manage, 1 million square feet within the schools and the town buildings. So that's a lot for one person to have the pulse on. And also when you have that, you are not working, you don't have the time to be strategic and thinking about at a director's level what other things to do. Not that I'm saying Doug's not doing, he's doing the best he can. And he's on 24/7 all the time. And no matter how good you are, there's only 24 hours a day that you can get things done. And I mentioned this to you before, I'm very much concerned about the human toll that it's taking on some of the staff because of what has evolved over the years. And I would very much like to consider this request and allow us to post a job, go to the Board of Finance and talk about financing, how we would pay for it. And there is a possibility that that might reduce his hours until July, but also he's here. I would like him to train the person and bring the person along, because if the person coming in completely from outside will not be able to handle all these things. And Doug has tremendous amount of institutional knowledge that is really helpful. And there are certain positions in this town that you create that when you're in one place for so many years, being a Kate here as well, so God forbid some of these positions people leave, you'll end up hiring, you'll need 2 people to do their work. So I'll be happy to take any questions that you have at this point, and Doug's here too. You can speak to the position itself. You have examples for the details.
Now Doug is staying as well.
I want him to stay.
Yes, no, we all do. Yes, no, that's why I'm asking. I'm like, hey, go ahead anyway. Okay.
We still need the superheroes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, okay. That was sure last time what you know.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I know. Doug's gonna do what Doug, you can do what you want, it's your life, but we want you to stay, just so you know. Why don't you go to work? But, okay, yeah, no, I get it. It's a lot, well, you know, it's a lot of work. We got a lot of buildings, a lot of work to do, understandable, you know, certainly. What do you all think? Good. Yep. Okay. All right, so, take a motion.
Okay, move to approve the new superintendent of facilities position, which will be shared between Department number 38, the town, and Department 61, the Board of Ed.
Second on that, second. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And like you said, Roche, right, we'll let the Board of Finance now work on this and it's nice to have, figure out where the money's coming from. Yeah.
Well, we have a couple of.
Yes, we had some, right, lots of money, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah,
So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay. Agenda item number 8 is authorization for contract with the contractors to construct a trail to connect the town hall complex and the Percival Field. And Jim, are you going to take this or is Steve Wood going to take it? Steve, you're there, so.
I'll start and then Steve can back me up.
All right.
So we've had the Eagle Scout project to construct the bridge. Then in the process of trying to make this connection between Town Hall and the Percival Field complex. Recently, we did the 824 referral to Planning and Zoning. They gave a unanimous favorable report. And Steve has obtained a proposal from earth contractors to do the work, including some screening trees for the house at the end of Whispering Brook. And the funds would be taken from the payment in lieu of open space account. So I would leave it at that, and Steve can add anything he likes.
Yeah, so when the Eagle Scout came forward with the bridge project, we utilized the town variance that had been there for many years, and we redirected the path instead of going behind the back of Marjorie Moore to go down the variance, over the little creek, and then up the backside of into Percival Soccer, currently where it is now. There's one hump coming out of Percival Soccer that's a little steep, and Earth Contractors is going to grade that out. Like Jim mentioned, there was one resident who called with some concerns about people walking onto her property. Over the last couple of months, we've had several conversations with her. I reached back out to her this morning and explained that we would put a buffering, and this would actually give them a defined trail, so they wouldn't be walking onto her property. And she seemed really excited about it. I know she had reached out to Donna earlier about this, but everybody seems to be excited about the project. The neighbor's okay with it, and I think it'll be very useful for getting the Park and Recreation every day to go from the community center up there for Clover Hill.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Jim. There's already a new, there's a new bridge there, right, too, in that? Isn't there a bridge?
Correct, it was installed in this August.
Okay.
The Eagle Scout project.
Yeah, that was the other project, right? The new bridge? Yeah, so, yeah, okay, no, good. All right, no, good. Sounds great. Quite
Sounds like
good.
a great project, but the specs are a little weak. How long is this trail?
How long is the trail?
I don't have the item up. Do you? Yeah, but what do you?
I believe it's probably somewhere between 500 and 750 feet. It's a long trail. It goes pretty much from the sidewalk just outside the police department all the way through the woods to the top of the soccer field.
What do you think, Charles?
Okay, price.
Okay.
Does this include the collateral damage, like seeding the areas inside of it, those regraded and so forth?
It does. It includes that and the 4 trees that will be planted adjacent to the bridge to prevent people from walking onto Heidi's property.
Sounds fair. Thank you.
Yep.
Good. Anyone else? Hearing none, we're gonna take a motion.
We'll move to waive the bidding process and authorize the town manager to enter into a contract with earth contractors to construct a trail from the town hall parking lot to Percival Field soccer fields for a fee of $15,000. We pay for the open space fee in lieu of account. This is in the best interest of the town.
Thank you. Second. Great. Any other comments or questions? None. All those in favor?
Thank you, guys.
Opposed? So moved.
Great, thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Happy New Year, guys.
Yeah, same to you.
Should we stay? Agenda item number 9.
Like I'm on Starship Enterprise here. Road.
Last one.
I feel like I'm in, like, say, I'm like we're going through some galaxy somewhere far, far away or something. Right?
Yeah,
Space might be better. It's okay.
I
think I am every once in a while.
Oh, look at it.
I can't, I'm drawn to it. Oh, yeah.
You like to look at it. So,
Exploring
it's
the universe here.
So,
All right, let's go.
agenda item number 9 is a authorization for an extension of the license agreement with Newport Realty Group. Jim?
So with the former 889 Farmington Avenue project, which is now 55 Steel Boulevard, the town, our agreement with Newport and our intentions have always been to we need to install a engineer control or a liner to limit exposure to contaminated soils on the site. It's part of our remedial action plan. And we had a license agreement. In fact, it just expired, but the point of the license agreement is that actually what happens to coordinate this project, Newport is going to do certain improvements on the site that'll be below the engineer control or liner. So with the license, they'll have the authority to go on the site, make those improvements, then we'll backfill the trenches, et cetera, and install the liner and fill over it. So it's kind of a coordinated effort, but since Newport doesn't close on the acquisition of the property until after the liner is installed, so we need to extend the license agreement.
Questions for Jim? We've been working on this for a while. No questions? Go ahead and take a motion.
Yeah, move to authorize the town manager to enter into an amendment to the license agreement between the town and Newport Realty Group LLC concerning 55 Steel Boulevard to extend the term of the agreement to December 31st, 2022.
Second on that? Second. Any further questions or comments? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 10 is authorization to apply for benefit community challenge grant. An opportunity here to 4 different options. Jim, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. We discussed this back in November. You authorized us to submit a letter of intent to apply. We've been working on the grant application. We're not quite there yet, but we're working on it, and the deadline is the end of next week, so we'll be there by then. The main elements of the grant proposal are for 10 additional residential units, apartments at Newport Center at 848 Farmington Avenue across from the train station. That would be mixed income apartments, so some of them will be workforce or affordable and some market rate. Then we would do a park on the remainder parcel on Steel Boulevard. The parcel is about 0.3 of an acre, and we have the design that, we design concept for the park that we've developed to make it an active park area, since we have all the parking resources in that vicinity. We're going to create a little band shell or stage so we can have events there, but also the way we're planning the pavers along the street, it would accommodate also farmers markets or crafts fairs, things of that nature in the future. So we have a lot of small parks, but we don't really have any with a good parking arrangement. And this will allow us to do some small events. It's not going to be major events, but a good activity area for this, TOD project that we're trying to develop here. third element is behind Newport Center. There's some undeveloped area. And we're not, we have a little swale behind Newport Center. So we build a little bridge across the swale and then connect into some walking trails. And that would be done in concert with the land trust and the fire department that own property in the rear. Those are the three main elements. I'm still working on, we were talking originally about the possibility of connecting to Old Brickyard Lane also with a pedestrian connection from Steel Boulevard. That's a little bit more complicated, but we might try to push it out, the first phase of that, and get it out to the Brickyard Pond. So I just want to give you a heads up. I will try to incorporate at least that piece in the project. And one of the reasons for that is that Newport is coming in with a revision to their site plan for 10 Steel Boulevard, the commercial building that they're going to be building there. And we'd like to kind of incorporate the walkway concept into their site plan when it gets approved by planning and zoning. So they'll be submitting that shortly. So I think we'll try to incorporate at least the first phase of this walkway also toward the Brickyard Pond and Old Brickyard Lane. So those are the basic the elements. We need to provide at least a 50% match, including private funds and town funds. We're proposing to appropriate $85,000 from the Farmington Avenue non-grant account as a partial match, and most of the match would be the private investment by Newport Realty in the construction of the 10 additional housing units on Newport Center.
Okay, what are we thinking, folks? Questions for Jim? Good.
Did you receive a letter today from my office?
I don't think you can keep it in mind.
We're working on that application, so we're getting letters of support from our legislators and testimonials and a lot of pieces to that application. So we requested a letter from Donna, and so that's all coming along, I think, pretty well, but a lot of work to do between now and the 14th, but we'll get there.
Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Sounds great. We can look get better and better there with this development. It's wonderful. So, okay, no comments or questions. Do you want to take a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the town manager to apply for a community challenge grant for projects in the vicinity of the Durham train station and appropriate $85,000 in town matching funds. And the remaining balance from Farmington Avenue Development non-grant account.
Thank you. Second on that? Second. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? We'll take our vote. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
So I will propose that we table the appointments because we got
Just don't take them up. Normally you don't take them up.
now anyway, right? Yeah, definitely.
This is
Yeah.
just informational.
Yes, good. Good.
All right, and then.
Yeah, good. Yeah, there's a lot here to look at. We got a lot of, and we're still getting people
Yes.
coming in that are want to be reappointed,
Or they don't want.
or they don't want, whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
So
so
we're cleaning up all the lists and everything.
great.
So that will be forthcoming.
Good. So yeah, so we got some folks, we can look at this and, see what we got at least going on up to now, right? And,
But I would encourage anyone, the council, if you know of people who want to get involved, is to look at where there's openings and see if that's something that's a fit.
Do we approve each individually, Kate, as they come?
Yes. So what will happen, Counselor, is in 2 weeks, you'll make a nomination. A lot of times it's Brandon. But if you have somebody, also you want to be cautious of the party association. We have a very strict policy here because of our charter. It's a bare minimum. State statute is more generous towards one party. So this is just bare minimum. As far as they're unaffiliated, then it doesn't matter.
okay. Great, Kate, thank you. I know it's a lot of work to get all these appointments in order, and there sure seems to be a whole bunch of them here.
It happens every January.
It does, yes, we know, we go through this all the time.
Can I just say, I've been here 20 years now.
Yeah.
So as of this month.
Yeah.
And this was like my first meeting, was where they made all the nominations. And I had no idea who these people were. And I'm writing them down and I'm going, what is your naga? What is I'm like, I don't even know any of these people. And it was a tough introduction, but I made it through for 20 years.
Yes, and you made it through very well. Great job.
I hope you know who
Now
I
I
am.
know who it is. I'm gonna stay for a while.
Stay for a little while longer?
Yeah.
Another 20 maybe?
I got a roof problem. I think it's gonna be about $20,000. I need to be staying for a long time.
Why not make another 20 years with that?
Oh my God.
Once you retire today. What are you gonna do?
Thank you. If I could also point out, I know you just want to get into your reports. You have, everybody received the special agenda for the meeting on the 6th.
Thursday, yeah.
All right, for Thursday, for your, okay. And then also, Councilor Beach, you have it for the meeting on the 10th. All right. If at all possible, please sign the waiver saying that I don't have to hand deliver these. We're pretty good about getting them to you. If you're not comfortable with it, we'll hand deliver. So it's considered hand delivered tonight.
Oh, for the agenda here.
Yeah,
So
because
you-
otherwise it's all special.
There it is.
I have to bring to your house.
Are you
We
gonna
did
keep
s- we
bringing
did
these?
Call your office.
I know.
Okay.
Will we still got these here? Paper?
Oh, yes, this is only the special agenda. So like when the stack of Thursday having a special meeting. I think it's in statute so that it's not hidden, but we're pretty open about it. And there's never been a time that the council doesn't know about a special meeting. So, but it's for your own protection, but if you're not comfortable with it, I'll be driving to your house.
No.
I already gave mine. I know it's.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Somebody in the town clerk's office.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Okay, comment.
Very quickly, just some dates. Tomorrow, we have the Affordable Housing Committee meeting. We're meeting on the 5th, 12th, and the 26th. We need to gas and put some gas. Okay, we'll push it then moving forward. Well, we were hoping to finalize the survey before the holidays and get it out, but then Capola had sent it to the committee members when we last met, but all the responses, holidays and all of that. So obviously we'll extend the meet tomorrow. If they agree on the survey, and the plan is to try and get it before the end of the week. And then we'll have a new deadline on the 15th that was previously discussed at the prime.
And we're getting it out. I know we heard some of this, obviously, social media, town website, but I know we're concerned, we're not gonna get,
Yeah.
Well, people
She's
answer.
planning multiple approaches. That's part of what we have discussed tomorrow. Website, social media, a link people can click and do, but paper that will put at libraries and other public buildings that a lot of people don't have computers. They can build up senior center, places like that. Schools, and then ask people to send it. So all the logistics of that will be discussed tomorrow.
Okay, they're gonna figure that out, yeah.
And hopefully wrap it up and agree to send the survey out, because that is the most important thing.
Right.
That we can really
Yes.
get started. So that's tomorrow. And Kate just talked about the joint meeting of the town council, board of finance, board of ed on Thursday at the senior center.
So that's the senior center, right?
So that we can have more people in there, and also they all will have the Zoom option as well. All meetings will have Zoom, because some people have expressed concern over meeting in person, so if you don't want to be there, you can have you join us via Zoom. And as I mentioned, you have the agenda, we'll talk about the priorities of the council, Board of Finance, Board of Ed. And I'll also have an opportunity to talk about, my vision for the next few years. My primary focus, I'll talk more about this, is to try and get us to think longer term. I like to think this town's going to, exist longer than all our lives combined. So from like 1 year to 2 year, not to approve a budget for multi-year, but have all the information that you need to make decisions, not just like the week before. And Board of Finance is also going to have, and I'll let you know the dates, some of the larger budgets like public works and the facilities and the garage, and before the meeting, to get into the meat of the budget submissions. And I would invite all of you to just join Zoom if you can in person as well, so that even the PD, the police is another one that they're inviting. There are like 4 meeting schedules. I'll give you the dates and all that. But for this meeting, it is ideally I would like to do this in the fall, the joint meeting of 3 groups. Why? Because I've already received all the budget requests from the department, so has the Board of Ed. So it'll be nice to have this earlier in the year, so that when we ask people to submit a request, we can frame it in the context of the priorities that you have outlined, that you represent the people, you Board of Finance, Board of Ed, and this way we can be a happy medium when we get to the March submission, rather than being too far apart.
We'll all be happy by that.
I would hope so. We've been happy the last couple of years.
We have been actually, right?
Yes.
It's gone fairly well.
So,
Yeah.
So that's on Thursday. I also want to let you know on the 13th, the following Thursday, we have Brightview. That's out of the 3 firms that bid on the maintenance of Timberland, International Golf Maintenance, Brightview, and Landscapes. They're bringing Brightview in, so they are in the range, and they're bringing their team again in person as well as Zoom option, remote option. So people will have the opportunity to ask questions. They'll present their plan on how they plan to manage the golf course, and we will ask questions about how it applies to Timberlake and anything else that might come up.
Is there time on the?
6 o'clock. It's at 6
6.
p.m. Right.
It's downstairs. in
Board of Ed,
Board of Ed.
right. So it'll be
Gonna offer
posted.
a Zoom option.
Yeah, I will send you all that stuff, right? I'm just giving you a heads up.
Yeah.
I'm inviting anyone from the Board of Finance, council, more the merrier. I mean, I want to be full transparent so that people understand what they're getting into or not. The decision has to be made, but folks should be able to see. And once that is complete, I will bring a recommendation to you based on what. I think that's it. Next meeting, I'll have like a mid-year status report from the departments, town departments. I normally do that twice a year to give you a sense of, projects that they have worked on and what to expect in the next 6 months or so. So I'll have that for the next meeting. That's it. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
No question. We have no question.
I'm ready for questions.
No, we're good. Still more to do here. Special committee reports, none, right?
Just
Other than who's got
speak a
your,
little bit about the
yes.
senior center, community center. I did send out an email a few weeks ago, months ago, to members of the town council that were here, that I did initially put together a letter that went out to the local press. Never got kicked back to me. No one ever contacted me. I didn't do a follow-up. They never printed it. And it was just a basic introductory letter of what our charges were of the commission, what we were going to do, and everybody involved. To get some feedback from some of the town council members around that commission. So I am in the process of maybe rewriting that, revising it, updating it, and getting it out there. I am not on social media, so that's not my purview. One of the things I did talk to with Todd on the commission is that, we have some funds. Going to figure out maybe to set up a commission Facebook page, then post and get some information. As we visit some of these places, getting a lot of great feedback. We all take notes, we share the notes. And it's been a good process so far to go see things in person. I said that before. I look at things at a different perspective, design-wise, architectural-wise, building-wise, compared to somebody that works in our facilities, the functionality, they're looking at how things are. So I think it's moving along pretty good. We have some dates coming up to go visit. One of the things on our list of charges from the town council here is to look at YMCA's facilities. So we're going to go schedule some new facilities to look at, newer ones. That's all I can think of right now about that. But we're going to figure out how to get some more information out there on a timely basis. I tried in the beginning, and we're going to work at it and do a better job to get the information out to the public. Because we're at the end of the day, we're advisory to the town council, so we're trying to gather information. The people that we talk to visit at these places, they're more than welcome to help us. They give us great information on the pluses and minuses of what they see in their building, and we're just absorbing that, and we'll get that information to the council.
Great, thanks, Brendan. I know it's a difficult task. There's a lot of things we have to look at. It's a huge project, whatever we end up with. So yeah, I know it's a lot of stuff you guys are doing, but we appreciate all the legwork to help us out when it comes to the council to figure out what we got to do and what we're going to get out to the folks and show them what options there will be, the cost of everything. It's important so they understand what they're possibly paying for. So yeah, appreciate the work. Appreciate your recommendation. That's it, I guess, for committee right now.
Just have a
Oh, yeah.
We going to schedule a rules committee for next week?
Oh, we talked about the rules committee. What do we?
So,
So we have on Monday, right?
are you on the rules and,
Thanks.
I know that Mike, you're on it with me, right?
Yes.
Okay, I thought Charlie wanted to be on
Okay.
it too.
so I'll get Lisa all the information. It's the 10th.
Agreed to. So, yeah, we're supposed to meet at 6, I think, right?
It's at 6 o'clock, Dr. McIntosh's at, on Monday, the 10th.
You gave us something.
Yeah, so I didn't give it to Charlie, so I'm sorry. And, yes, and I'll get it to Lisa tomorrow.
Somebody got to tell me where to be.
Done. All right, it will be on Zoom too, but.
Sorry, I'll be there.
All right, I'll take care of that. And in that process too, is I've looked at all the standing committees.
Yeah.
All right, so that has the information that's going to the committee right now. And then you have the ability to abolish, and then you always have the ability to bring them back. So it will be just tightening it all up.
Makes sense.
Great.
Yes.
Yes. Endless work, Kate. Yeah, don't you?
Dr. Trudy,
Okay, great.
can't get rid of me yet.
No, not yet, no. Don't need to work, please don't go in. Okay, so council communications. Yeah, ladies and gents. Anything?
Just want to thank everybody that came out that was able to today. To get at least the test kits out.
Yeah, that's good.
It was cold. I couldn't feel my toes for a few hours.
Yeah, it couldn't be in the 50-degree days. It had to be.
You're right. But it went very smoothly, and the fire marshal and his crew, they did a fantastic job. They really did. So I think everybody that helped out, everyone that behaved, that drove through.
Nobody was there, right? We had no.
No, I think one person got 2 kids somehow, I turned my back and I
Oh.
took that.
You know, there's one guy, there's always one lucky guy. The guy's car broke down, but we got him a kit anyhow.
That's great.
And I think there were 1 or 2 that weren't from town.
Oh,
There were
really?
1 or 2.
Yeah.
I think, but I thought all the process was very smooth and
Yeah.
considering traffic was backed up pretty much all the way down the turnpike. The gas station, it was very smooth. Yeah.
Yeah, we knocked that life out.
Yeah, I would say by probably 10-20, most of the backup traffic was.
It was
pretty much
inside,
gone.
there was really nobody at a little after 10 that was waiting out on the turnpike.
Yeah,
So
in the
That
end,
was
I was
impressive.
asking him how long it had been here. 20 minutes, 18 minutes.
That's not compared to what I
There
read.
were a few people there, were there at 4 AM.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, the first part was.
Yeah.
At 4 AM. That's one valuable test kit, I guess. I don't know. Figure it out, but I guess they're happy they got your test. Huh?
Yeah, it's a good study for the test.
Good, well, I'm glad that at least we got, and what, more, what's it say, Tom? Nothing, maybe more?
Maybe.
Yeah, I know.
Don't say.
No, we want to go there, but.
If you get it, we'll pick it up.
That's
Yeah.
all, that's all.
Next time we'll probably do it, late in the afternoon or evening.
Oh, okay.
Some people
Yeah,
complain.
or
Well,
it's
you-
not working,
Did you see the problem Newington had tonight? They had those at night, and it turned out to be a horror show traffic wise. It's so difficult. I
In the
mean,
night, that's.
It is.
Can't say.
What were the issues?
traffic. I forgot the road, it was backed up, quite a while, quite a bit.
Maybe we shouldn't do it.
I just caught it as I was.
That was the only complaint we got from people who were like, well, we have jobs, so.
Well, I think night's okay, I agree, I think that's a good thing, but I wonder if we shouldn't do it on the turn, maybe. we
Well,
can
Do it somewhere where you.
Where you
the
won't be
traffic
able
is
to,
not gonna
I would
be-
be worried about the
Because
traffic,
that's
you know.
dangerous.
Maybe,
That's dangerous.
maybe Timberland next time.
Oh, you can do 10 to 2 in the morning.
Yeah, that guy would complain if you shot him with a new gun. He wanted to complain, on social media, is that the guy you're talking about? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually,
Yeah.
Timberland, because they got the big.
Well, it's good.
Long road, parking lot.
It's still great.
Oh, yeah, there too.
What about backup though for Timberlake? Because it is
The
a.
big, yeah, the big, it's got a big lot, right?
Yeah.
What's that?
The Timberland, or,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, just,
Think about it.
Well, only Timberland, but I'm saying you're not gonna run into any major traffic areas.
I mean, because today, I went by, I saw early, the traffic's already backed up, we don't want to back up on the turnpike, that's dangerous,
Not at
back it
night,
up,
though.
especially at night now. It gets
But
dark.
I have to say, the police department did a good job.
Yeah.
Cording it off and
Yeah.
controlling the traffic. Because when I skip the line to go work, he comes out, he goes, where are you going?
Mike, I called you just to make sure, because I didn't want to get the stink eye, and I still got the stink eye. But no, it was handled very
I was happy with it. Because of Jeff,
We're good, that's great. Any other counselor? Communication? No? Okay, so we'll go accept the December 14th meeting. Take a motion.
Okay.
Everybody ready?
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from December 14th, 2021.
Second on that? Second. Any other comments, corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Which brings us to our executive session, so we'll go ahead and, I guess it's 8:55. I'm gonna make a motion.
Okay, make a motion to go into executive sessions for pending litigations, Connecticut General State Statute, section 1-206 per D, strategy and negotiations with respect to pending claims and pending litigation. 2, real estate, Connecticut General State Statute, section 1-200, 6 part D, discussion the selection of a site sale or purchase of real estate by the town on Reservoir Road. And number 3, pending litigations, Connecticut General State Statute, Section 1/206, Part B, strategy and negotiations with respect to pending claims of litigation, the Britain Stadium pilot agreement negotiations.
Second.
And invited in would be Ms. Knox.
Nafrio, Roche, obviously. and
And Jim Mahoney.
Jim Mahoney, okay. Sorry, Jimmy. Okay, Jim Mahoney.
And Mike, of course. is
Well,
also-
Oh, well, Mike, yeah,
I just want to make sure.
yeah.
And both of you should have the numbers that are over the line.
Okay, so second. Second. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks. So we'll go ahead and give them, get ready for that and other people, Mike and Jim Mahoney, call in.